proper introduction, our 1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham, here with us as the Sacramento Kings will play the Los Angeles Lakers tonight, James, in LA for the fourth and final time this season. And much has been made since their wins over the weekend against Houston and against San Antonio that this team just keeps scoring a ton of points. And they're on a kind of a historic run right now with 5 straight games of 130-plus points games that actually started at the Golden One Center on Trista Crick night with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, this team is doing amazing things offensively. Defensively, they're still a hot mess. If they don't do amazing things offensively, then they will lose. And so they've kind of put themselves in that situation. And it's a situation that I think Mike Brown has fought and fought and fought to not be in. And now he's in it and realizes that, like, he's got to, I don't think change his expectations.
Navigate
But
through it a little differently.
yeah, maybe he needs to figure out a way to just look at net rating as opposed to defensive rating and figure out a way to get the net rating as high as possible, which is, the difference between offensive rating and defensive rating. And like, if you're winning that battle, then you're winning games. And, I know we've talked about this in the past. I just remember years ago listening to the Kings had their defensive coordinator at the time, and I can't why his name is slipping my mind right now. And someone was asking him on the radio, why is it that your defense really isn't a lockdown defense? And he's like, because I don't have any defensive players. I'm doing the best I can. The fact is that, we average 120 points a game and we only give up 114. So yeah.
Elston?
Yeah, Elston Turner. Yeah, exactly. And so that's, I think there could come a point where Mike Brown needs to play within the confines of what he has in front of him. And if that means that his team is going to give up 120 points a night, but they're going to score 130, that still means you win. You just need to make sure that you're able to get stops when you need to. The problem that the Kings have is, and that Mike Brown knows, is that, you don't get to play the Houston Rockets twice, the San Antonio Spurs, the Los Angeles Lakers, just keep stacking up these bad teams like all season long. An 82-game season, you're going to run up against teams that you just can't outscore. Because if you're not going to play defense, they're going to play a little bit of defense, and they can crank their offense up as well.
Like I always said, I want them to play better defense. Like, I absolutely would want that. But also, kind of like what James was talking about, I realize that's not the personnel that they have. So, and I think Mike Brown and his coaching staff has done this. It's like, all right, well, that's not the strengths of the guys that we have. What can we do to magnify the strengths that they have and do our best to hide the weaknesses? And I think that's kind of where they're at. I think they started out that way, and Mike got to a point where he's like, I've done this long enough. You guys need to be better here. And if you're not, I'll find people who will play better. And then he couldn't find people that would play better, and it started messing up the team a little bit. So I think they went back to, all right, let's just go back to what their strengths are, and let's focus on that and try to get better piece by piece on the defensive end. And it wins games in the regular season. Will it win you a championship? Absolutely not. But it wins you games in the regular season. It'll get you to the playoffs. And if we're looking at this thing in the big picture, I know maybe, we need to get somewhere before we look in the big picture, but this is the first step into the whole process of what they're trying to do with this organization. They weren't going to be this championship team in year one of Mike Brown. This is just the first step.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think the frustration with him is that he knows that if you're playing good teams or you're playing in the playoffs, or that last 20 games of the season where it really becomes like the tune-up to the playoffs, if you can't protect Domantas Sabonis, you're going to lose. And that's it. Like, if Domantas Sabonis is looking at 6 fouls each and every night, or he's sitting at 4 and you got to sit him for long stretches, you're done. And the problem that this team has is that the guards and forwards aren't doing enough to keep their men on the perimeter and keep them away from the middle of the basket, where the middle of the key, where Sabonis is waiting. and Sabonis is doing his best to, be a good teammate and to keep the rim, to protect the rim. But at the same time, like, there's nothing he can do about picking up fouls in those situations. When you've got athletic guards and forwards flying at you, like, it doesn't matter how good your body position is, you just can't get to the spot quick enough. And so he's picking up a bunch of cheap fouls. And, I get it. Mike Brown will continue to demand more and more and more. It feels like right now that the Kings are playing like 48 minutes of incredible offense, and then they're playing maybe 12 minutes of good defense. And like within that, and you got to figure out a way to expand the defensive moments and keep the offensive moments there. But I mean, Harrison Barnes isn't going to shoot 66.7% from the field and 64.3% from three over a 4-game stretch very often. And that's how you're beating teams like this. You're running them over with your offense, and you can't just win on making shots. And that's what Mike is fearing, that this team will just fall in love with winning on offense, and then never really take that next step defensively. And I think he needs better defensive players for sure. Whether you can get one or two pieces that help you now is going to be a big question that faces Monty McNair in the coming days.
How many teams do you genuinely think in the league play? I don't think anyone plays 48 minutes of defense, but like, how many teams do you think really focus a lot on the defensive end?
Like,
I mean, there's ones like Boston. I mean, there's
Boston, Milwaukee, even Philadelphia usually is pretty solid defensively. Most of the Eastern Conference teams, more than the Western Conference teams, I think that's always kind of been the case.
Would you say that about Denver?
Yeah, well, I mean, they have to scheme around the fact that, they don't have a super mobile center. They've got a great center, but they don't have a super mobile center, and they scheme around him all the time. And that's, again, that's why I think bringing in Jordi Fernandez was such a coup, because he's, a defensive coach that comes from 4 or 5 years in Denver working with Michael Malone, but also, his backdrop with Mike Brown, but also figuring out ways to protect a guy like Nikola Jokic. And so these are all pieces to the puzzle. How do you get to a better defensive scheme? How do you figure out a way, and how do you work with the pieces that are in place today? Like Harrison Barnes might not be here next season, so you're going to have to fill that hole, but you got to also look and think that Keegan Murray isn't going to be a rookie next season. He's going to have a better understanding of what needs to happen in order to slow down an opposition. De'Aaron Fox can get better defensively. Kevin Huerter can get better defensively. All of these guys, like most of their core, are young enough that they can show improvements, but that doesn't mean you still need a piece or two to make this whole thing work. And, like you're at a 4 seed right now, the potential to move up to a 3 seed here in the coming days, but you have to keep telling yourself that this team is really more like a 6 seed that needs to find a way to secure themselves there, so they're not in the play-in tournament, and hopefully maybe you can finish the 4 seed and somehow you host a first round playoff match. That would be incredible, but you have to be realistic about who this team is right now. And the fact that they're feasting on bad teams is a good thing, because you got to play all 82 games, but at the same time, the schedule will get more difficult. The schedule from here on out is like 16th most difficult in the league. And, they're going to have ups and downs. They got to figure out a way to ride it out, and that usually means play defense.
Two quick things. Yeah. Just real quick. One, you're a downer. 2, they could move to 3 tonight, actually. We're all big Miami Heat fans.
Let's go, Kyle Lowry.
Let's go, Heat. Let's go, Heat.
If
the Heat beat the Pelicans and the Kings get their 3rd win against the Lakers, and we've decided, James, you look at the standing, you're not getting higher than 3rd. Like that's the end of it right there. Unless something terrible happens with like Memphis or Denver, you're not getting any higher than 3rd. That's the end of the cluster right there. There's 1 and 2, and then there's a cluster after that. So this we're essentially playing for our first place tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at those teams, even Memphis, like like they showed last year where they like 20-3 without Ja, and this year they've just rolled through without Desmond Bain for long stretches. Yeah, that's a team that has a next man up mentality, and they don't care who's there and who's not, and they just keep playing. And the Kings are a year or two away from being that. That's what happens when you're together and you have a system and everything. For like 3-4 years, you start to build that type of characteristic to your DNA of who you are as a team. The Kings just aren't there yet. And so like we have to keep reminding ourselves that this is the first year of Mike Brown. This is the first year that this group of players have been together, and you hope that they can accomplish amazing things, but you have to know that there can be tough times. And not there doesn't even have to be tough times. One of these or two of these teams that are below them who are really, really good and aren't playing good basketball right now will eventually figure it out and be right there and where you are, and you're going to have to battle this.
Or they won't.
I don't
Or
think
they
will.
won't. Like we've been saying that for the last 35 games.
I think Golden State's the one that I'm like, all right, we'll see what they do. I'm not sold on Portland or the Lakers or Utah
we just saw
or
the
any of
Clippers
those
last
teams
night.
Or the Clippers.
And that's the team
every
I
time
thought was going to the
I
finals.
watch the Clippers, I just get more confused.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't know what happened to them.
I'm with you. Like, I don't know how they're playing so poorly, but like if you've been watching basketball for any length of time, you know that the final 25 games of the season is just a tremendous ramp up, and it becomes so difficult. It like winning games in the final 20 something games of the season is tough against good teams. Like that is when the playoff actually start, and you're trying to figure out seeding and everything else. They need a big time cushion. And like we were just podcasting a few minutes ago, and Brendan asked, can this team finish 4 games over 500 on the season where they are right now? Or well, right now they're 6, but that magic mark of 4 that they couldn't get over. Can they finish the entire season at 4 games over? And that's what you have to start looking at. Like is this a 43 win team? Is it a 45 win team? Is it a 48 win team? Can they get to 50? Like, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that like when you're usually taking these steps as a team, it doesn't like historically happen in one season where you go from like a perennial loser to a really, really, really good team that could, potentially host a first round game.
Yeah. No, I completely understand you. I just, and we joke with you, but I understand what you're saying. I just think that this team, number one, the way they score in general, like in the regular season, there's not a lot of teams that are going to keep up with that. Yeah, they play Milwaukee. Milwaukee may be able to do it, Boston, all this other stuff, but they're not playing those teams that often. Like they're going to play Houston and, I don't know, San Antonio more times than they're going to play the good teams. Because I'll trust you because you have a little bit more insight on this, but I thought I saw somewhere they had the 4th easiest schedule remaining.
Well, that was before this stretch where they played a bunch of bad teams.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, it's turned. I mean, and that's kind of the way, the strength of schedule. We're down to 40 something games or 30 something games at this point. So it's going to go quickly. I mean, that's what's crazy. Like everyone's having such a good time here and the lighting the beam and, everyone's like hanging on the edge of their seat each and every night. But this thing is motoring. Like we're almost like the Kings have a 7-game road trip coming up, and then like 2 games at home, and you're at the trade deadline. You're at the All-Star break. I mean, it's all coming so quickly here in the next couple of weeks. And like, can they hold on? And like, how do you get through a 7-game road trip? Even though there are a bunch of winnable games on that 7-game road trip, like if they come out of that 4-3, that's a huge like win. But what if they go 2-5? Like there's all kinds of setbacks that can happen, little setbacks, big setbacks. And I just really think that, like people need to cheer on their team and just like keep a level head about where they are and don't get too disappointed if they fall a couple of spots in the standings. And I think it's a really good thing they've built their 4-game lead above like the 10 spot at this point. That's good. Like, but can you hold on to it? And can you take care of business against like tonight, a bad Lakers team? You know, OKC is playing much better basketball when you get home. That's a dangerous, tough,
That's gonna be
physical
a fight.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they play defense. They've got a star. So like, how do you play against those teams? And then like, do you get knocked off kilter if you lose one of these games? And you got Philadelphia, and like, you can't. You got to stay in the moment if you're this Kings team. And so far, they've done a good job of doing that.
The one thing I always say with those things, once again, Ham is correct, but people look at the schedule and they're like, man, OKC playing good and Philly good, and man, this is tough. And I look back and I say, we're good too. Like, they got to play us. You know what I mean? Like, OKC's looking at it like, man, Sacramento, they score, like, that's going to be a tough game. Like, I think that's the mentality that, hopefully the Kings, I'm sure they do. They're a confident bunch, but they got to play us too.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I would say this too. Like, the big games that are coming up, like, again, we got Lakers, OKC, Philly, and then Memphis, and then the Raptors, right? So you're hoping right there, can the Kings go 3-2? That's solid. If they can go 3-2, that'd be great. But then how do you do against Minnesota? Who is Minnesota? Is Minnesota going to be the team that's like been horrible half the season? Or are they going to be a team who's turned it around for a short stint, and you've got to go in there and face a team that, might be more difficult than they look on paper? Can you get, I mean, again, you got the Spurs, you got the Pacers, you got the Pelicans, and then you finish that 7-game series, that 7-game road trip with the Rockets. But there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. Like, will you make a trade? Will that trade cost you a game? Like, there are all kinds of things that you have to look at. And like, I just want fans to enjoy the ride, like, live in the moment, like the team is supposed to live in the moment, and cheer on your guys, because they're doing something right now that a lot of these guys have never been in this position. I don't think De'Aaron Fox in his career clearly has never been 6 games over 500. And keep that in mind. Like, it's a lot more pressure once the winning starts to stack up, and once people start having different expectations, once you start going on ESPN with, your 2 stars go on ESPN, what happens then? Like, you're starting to build some expectations with this team that just weren't there like 2 weeks ago, and weren't there like this summer. They're in uncharted water, and again, fans need to be supportive of where they go from here.
I like Special Ed's idea. Team issued black Air Forces the rest of the season. I think that's a good idea.
Let's go.
That Black Air Force One vibe. Is that what it was?
Air Force energy.
Black Air Force energy.
Yeah.
What's the number? 6 games over 500. Are you buying what you're seeing?
Yeah, I buy that they're a great offensive team, but I also buy that they're a bad defensive team.
They're 6 games over 500. Are you buying that record?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in this season, for sure. Like, there are a bunch of bad teams this season. And I think that they haven't let off the gas. They've lost maybe 2 games that I really think, oh, that was horrible. Like, Charlotte and Washington are 2 teams that are bad teams, in my opinion. But like a lot of the other games, I can call the Lakers a bad team right now, but they still have LeBron James. I mean, like, the dude is 38 years old and just put up, 48, 49? Yeah. Like, what he's doing right now, it's just historical, but it's incredible to watch. And, he's walking to a triple-double. It's crazy. But, like, there are only 2 real games where I just were, like, I'm so down on the team for losing those games. And those things happen. The rest of the time, like, look at some of the teams you thought, oh, man, they lost to Miami. Well, Miami's a 500 team again. You start, like, there are a couple of those teams where you just look at and you go, okay, look, they're a better team than we thought they were when you played them. Even Charlotte got everyone healthy for like 3 games, beat the Kings, and now everyone is hurt again and they're bad again. So, you never know how these things will work out.
Yeah, I think I'm believing in them. I said it yesterday, Ham. I think they're going to be top 6. I don't think this is a play-in team. I don't think this is a play-in situation. I think they're going to be in the top 6. Like you mentioned earlier, hopefully, they play well enough where they can, get a home playoff series. But,
top 4, baby. Expectations have shifted. Top 4. Let's go.
But I guess, What about New Orleans? Are they a top 3 team for you guys?
when they're healthy, but I don't know if they're gonna be
I
healthy all
don't
year.
know. Yeah, I
When
can't.
they're
That's
healthy,
where they're at right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
they're
they're sliding.
3 headed south.
Yeah, they're sliding.
You know, with Zion out for a little bit longer, and I don't know if Brandon Ingram's ever playing basketball again. We read an update on him, I think a week and a half ago, which I was more confused when we were done reading the update than before when we read it.
The bruised toe that's cost him 9 or 10 games. Is that
Yeah.
what it is? Yeah, and his teammates, I think, are confused. They're like, "What in the world's happening here?" Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
when Zion was cooking, it was like, oh yeah, they're legit. Like Zion, CJ, this is a perfect combination. But now it's like when Zion comes back, are you getting reacclimated? Are minutes restrictions? Is he good? Like what's the case
and that's
with him?
when he comes back. I think he probably won't be back to the All-Star break.
It would make sense.
You know what I mean?
I don't think the injury was spaced out that long, but it would make sense.
Yeah.
Like if you're tiptoeing around it, why bother?
So that's 2-3 weeks of like Zionless, Brandon Ingramless basketball. So who knows what happens with them? They might be out of third.
Are you buying that team?
no. I didn't buy that team at the beginning of the year. I'm not going to change my tune now.
Healthy, you don't buy him?
Well, healthy, but the problem is that, like, again, we talk about teams that haven't been together. That team hasn't been together. Like, how do they handle the tough times? How do they handle the good times, right? And that's what we're seeing with the Kings. I think the one good thing that I'll say about what's happening with the Kings is that there are so many close games. You
haven't said much good things about the Kings.
Well, no, like every game is super, super close. That is just, you're learning so much from each one of those games. Sure. Like you gotta learn a lot of ways to not make a light bulb before you make a light bulb, you know. And I think that's when you're looking at the way that the Kings are figuring out how to win, how to keep close, how to throttle up and throttle down, because we're seeing them, like, they'll get to half and it'll be a competitive game, and then boom, they're blowing teams off out in the third quarter and just like running over teams. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Like, give me more of these, like, 25-point games, these 15-point games that you don't have to put your starters in the last 4 minutes of a game just to save it. Like, show me that you can do that and that you're learning. And for that matter, like, fill a couple of the holes in the roster. You got them. Go fill the holes. It's not like there's some mystery here. You're a bad defensive team. See if you can find some good defensive players that can shoot the ball and move forward. So
I'm going to think more about the light bulb comment James just made for a few minutes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get James Ham to say something positive about the Sacramento Kings as we get ready for the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers tonight. More from our 1320 Kings insider James Ham when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, Stilo and KC on ESPN 1320. Real quick, hit the thumbs up. We are exactly 60 short from where we were yesterday. We at minimum, we was 241 yesterday. We got to top that, and there are way more people watching right now than there were yesterday.
And we got Ham here.
Ham's here. We got them Ham numbers. Ham's the rating rated R superstar.
He bringing numbers. Hey, shout out to my man Ace, International Ace, man. D-Lo and KC International right now, man.
Where's he at?
Finland.
Yeah. Wow.
Big
okay.
Stone, man. He was in the chat, man. He tapped in.
What's Ace doing in Finland?
Living his life.
Man.
Being Finnish?
Must be nice to be the Miss P and all them stamps in the passport and Ace. And,
them East Coast chatty house people, they live different.
I'm just trying to do a radio show, man.
He showed me a picture. He had some I think he bought it. I don't think he brought it out there. They had some bamboo.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's the original bamboo.
Very nice.
Maybe he brought it out there. I don't know.
Have you had the original? You haven't had the original yet, right? Only the XO, the black bottle?
Yeah, only the black bottle. Yeah, because I'm doing dry January. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I had the one drink.
Dry-ish. Yeah.
Well, we can say like 1.5. I don't consider the one drink we got was a real drink.
Yeah.
But
I agree. It was not.
No, it wasn't a real drink. So just those 1.5s, I think. Yeah. Anyway,
And that
yeah,
was because we were out. I got you.
yeah.
Steve,
I'm having dry Wednesday. I haven't had a drink today.
yeah, dude, I think I would be dry too. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Steven, no, I'm not going to the 49ers game. I thought about it, but it'd be a lot.
Someone asked me about my thoughts on Shintaro Fujinami. If you have to sign with the A's because they're promising a spot in the rotation, I don't know what that means about you. So, and if you're going to get excited about the A's signing a guy to a 1-year contract, come on now. Like, yeah. Fuji, I like it. Whatever. Am I doing a heel turn? I'm not doing a heel turn. I'm just
There's a lot of speculation in here that you're doing a heel turn.
realistic. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just hit Monty McNair in the back of the head with a steel chair.
Oh my God. Wait a minute, bro. Whose side is he on?
That's funny.
What is he doing? God! Is he the third man? What the hell is going on here?
Y'all gonna turn Brendan Nunez heel any minute. You got that Cunningham temperament.
They both jumped in and said they believe this is a good team, and even at that point, yeah, both of them, they both said this is a good team, and I said I need to see more. I've been around long enough to think, hey,
game 79, James just gonna be like, I don't know. I mean, 12 games over 500.
The 3 seed locked up, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Gonna be up 3-0 in the first round against Dallas.
Up 25 at the half in game 4.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm certainly not gonna sing "We Don't Need Luca" song. Sorry.
Jerry Jones believes the 49ers defense will have a hard time adjusting to Dak Prescott's rushing abilities.
He's wrong.
Okay. We don't need to say nothing, James. Okay, we don't even need to say nothing.
Okay.
Their defensive line might. Those linebackers who are angry and.
Hey James, we just gonna let them keep talking. They hadn't stopped talking since Monday night, man. We just gonna let them keep talking, man. Ron W, boys, get your boys.
I'm watching Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. Like both of them, just hurl their body at people. Like those dudes, like hit the hit stick. So often you're like, holy cow, look at him fly in. He hit his own teammate. He doesn't care. Yeah, they just fly in like, I'm like, all right. Yeah. They're not worried about Dak. Pollard, you got to worry about.
And then I don't know what Jerry Jones talking about. Dak, most rushing yards in a game this season is 41 yards.
Is that a shoot?
No, dead ass. I just looked
41?
Right now. Yeah, he's 41 yards.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
These boys don't know, man.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Oh, good for him for getting the bag. My goodness.
I wouldn't run either.
Did we just get?
That's incredible.
Yeah, I've been podcasting all day. Do we have an injury update?
I haven't seen anything. There was what's his name?
They're saying Sabonis is out. Missed that. The last update I looked up. The last update I looked at was.
I got it right now.
I was looking to see LeBron.
Where is it?
Well, I'll be damned.
Sabonis is questionable with a non-COVID illness.
Oh, here we go.
Dellavedova is questionable. Alex Len is out with a non-COVID related illness.
LeBron is still questionable. All right. Well, I guess that's where we'll start when we get back here.
Oh boy,
it is non-COVID. It's calm down, Brad Clayton. God damn it, it's non-COVID. Damn it, Brad. Coming back, James. Couple of updates here from the latest injury report, Hammer. Matthew Dellavedova listed as questionable with a non-COVID illness.
Get well soon.
Alex Lynn is out of tonight's game with a non-COVID illness.
Get well soon.
And fresh off his appearance on NBA Today, Domantas Sabonis, questionable with a non-COVID illness.
Dear God, take my lungs.
It's not great, Bob.
LeBron James still listed as questionable, by the way, with left ankle soreness for tonight's game. Obviously, Anthony Davis is out. Austin Reeves is still out. Lonnie Walker is still out. We kind of knew all of this going in. But yeah, Domas and Matthew Dellavedova listed as questionable. I'm going to go out on a limb. I certainly don't know. I'm not there. I'm in Sacramento, California, not Los Angeles, California.
Mm-hmm.
Domas is playing with a broken freaking hand. If he's got a cold, he's going to play with a cold.
Yeah, they need to play with a mask on. Let him do it.
Yeah, like there's so much going around right now. We all know that. Like the Herter illness last week. We're gonna have to keep dealing with it. Like I hope that he plays
missed 2 games, right? Like he missed.
I know what he had, but I'm not gonna put like business out there without like a thumbs up from somebody. But it's like a standard illness that, like most of us have had, but like takes antibiotics to get through and stuff. So he's all right. But he hadn't hit the basketball court for like 3 days when he got back. He should be fine at this point. He should be ready to roll. But as far as Sabonis, that's not great. Dellavedova, and Len are are players who are well out of the rotation. Just nice pieces to have in case you need an emergency. I don't know what exactly the Kings would do.
The two-way guys aren't there either.
Yeah, Nimi and Keon Ellis are.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't. I guess if Domas is out, it's probably a little bit of a. Got to be a little bit of a concern, though.
Yeah, and no Alex Lynn.
Yeah, no Alex Lynn, no Nemias Queta. It's.
How are you going to start Thomas Wilt, Abdul-Jabbar Bryant?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're probably going to see Rashawn Holmes, Chimezie Metu.
Yeah, Rashawn Holmes for 48 minutes.
Yeah.
Rashawn Holmes and Chimezie Metu for 48 minutes tonight. Goodness. Again, he's listed as questionable. Domas is listed as questionable. He's not listed as out. But if he does miss the game, I'm calling foul, and I'm saying something unscrupulous happened at the ESPN studio in Los Angeles. Yeah.
No.
Up to no good in that LA Live area.
They tricked him.
I don't like it. De'Aaron, stay away.
Bad cheeseburger.
I think I've heard that happens. I've heard that happens.
I never believed that a day in my life.
Neither did I.
That somebody.
I don't believe the stupid pizza story either.
Well, I don't believe that either. Sick as a dog.
30 years later, Michael Jordan's going to tell us it's a pizza that nobody else ate because allegedly he spit on it. Jesus Christ. Come on, Mike.
Took one for the team.
Apparently.
Hey, James.
My goodness.
Hey, I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to go back in time a little bit to Friday night. And I wanted to know what you thought about the scuffle between Monk and Garrison Matthews, and not just the scuffle, but like since we've been doing this show, we've talked about like people standing up, people on the roster standing up for each other and willing to, go to battle and fight for each other and things of that nature. And it feels like that's one of the first times we saw that. Chimezie Metu didn't hesitate. Monk had an issue, and Metu was right there. Did that stand out to you at all, or was it just another NBA skirmish to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of another NBA skirmish, but I also remember that that Mr. Garrison had actually smacked Keegan Murray and got a flagrant foul the game before. And I think that there's some brewing bad blood there between the Kings and him. He's a guy that, plays hard. He can hit a big time 3-point shot, and he's got a little grit to him.
He's bordering on dirty.
He is a wild child.
I would say he is dirty, but he's also like, you even saw when Malik Monk went toe to toe with him. He's much bigger than you thought. Like he's a good size guard, and I don't know. He's a player that, in the right system, you're like, I wouldn't mind having a dude who doesn't mind getting a little dirty, mixing it up a little bit. I I'm not sure that I can say the same thing about what's his name?
Eason?
It was,
He's too.
no, the kid on the Milwaukee Bucks now.
Oh, Grayson.
Yeah, Grayson Allen. Yeah, I can't handle the Grayson Allen thing because he always has like the who me look. Like I didn't do anything. I didn't trip that guy for like the 40th time. So there's always that, and that he looks like a certain senator that I don't care for. But when you look at him, you're like, huh, like Garrison Matthews, like he's gonna punch somebody. Like I'm all right with that. Like every once in a while, you need a guy like that on your team. We talk about the Kings needing a guy like that. I like that Metu like jumped right in there. I watched the tape back, and I didn't really see a reason why Metu deserved a tech. But at least he didn't get fined.
From an instigator, which he did instigate a little bit.
He
but
got a
he
tech and an ejection.
Yeah, he shouldn't have got thrown out.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I mean, when it comes to altercations, like they start doing the Oprah thing, like you get a car and you get thrown out, and you get car and you get thrown out. That's what they start doing. Yep.
Additionally, I believe was the term that the official. Additionally, Freeport was over there forgetting where he was, and he's getting tossed. And additionally, my goodness.
And then they had a bunch of guys get suspended for a game for stepping on the court.
Yeah. We talked about this just very briefly yesterday, but I was actually concerned. That was a long stoppage in the game, and Kings came out really slow and thought, oh boy, if this is the moment that turns this game, my goodness, and credit to the Kings who settled down after a few minutes later and then were able to, kind of get back to business and close things out in that fourth quarter. Actually, I thought that was a telling moment for Sacramento. The response for the hip check on Malik Monk, because that was absolutely a dirty play, and his second one in as many games. And the response after the long stoppage where they're starting out slow, hit the pause button, regroup, get back going, wind up blowing them out for a second time.
Yeah, it's just showing once again that the Kings can win in different ways, that they're not going to be distracted, that they're not going to like get knocked off their game by a silly foul. And, I didn't think that was a horribly dirty play. I didn't think it was clean, but like Monk's reaction is what started that whole skirmish. I fully understand.
He didn't make a play for the ball.
Yeah.
He did not go for the ball. He went for the sole intention of blocking out Malik Monk, and hip checks him in the process.
And Garrison turned up like he went to 10. Like Malik knocked the ball out. He probably said something. And then Matthews, you want to go, bro?
Yeah. We did have a little, it did get, it escalated quickly. It was a little strange. But at the same time, like Malik Monk did say something. Malik Monk did, come knock the ball out of his hands and all that stuff. So
it's so funny to me that basketball players get really angry when you knock the ball out of their hands. Like Kenny said, he turned around on level 10, all because the ball got poked out from behind him. It's tremendous. And he was probably upset that his team was getting their ass kicked.
Again. Yeah. Rinse and repeat. That was when you're it's not fun to play for a team that loses all the time. And, whether you're a guy at the end of the bench like he is or not, like it still doesn't feel great. I guess he's in the rotation sort of. But again, I'm not sure how how good their rotation is. That's a pretty bad team from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're a bit messy. Do you feel like you've learned anything from the second unit over the course of these last couple of days? We spent a lot of time talking about them following the Los Angeles Lakers game, and I feel like we've seen a little bit of a response. Obviously, Terrence Davis got shifted to the starting lineup for a couple of games with Kevin Huerter out with that illness. But do you feel like we've gotten a solid response from that group?
Yeah, I thought Davion Mitchell was excellent, like just really, really good defensively, but also efficient, hitting his shots, made quick decisions. I thought that was big. They're not asking him to go dish out a bunch of assists. Just do your job, figure out your role. And I thought, again, like, where would the Kings be without Trey Lyles? Trey Lyles has just been spectacular. Like, you're not going to make a decision on this roster based on Trey Lyles. But he's a guy who's earned a spot in the rotation and should be there for the long haul. So, yeah.
Yeah. What did you yesterday we talked about a little bit with Davion, and I talked about how when he scores, that's like icing on the cake. And what I mean by that is he can have 2 points in a game, but if he's playing the defense that we come to know and love and expect from him, that's his job. Do you think that's like a little not giving him all the responsibility that he probably should have as being like a backup point guard? Would you want more scoring outputs? Obviously, you'd want it, but would you expect more scoring outputs like you got in San Antonio? Or do you look at it the same way where it's like, hey, if he has 3 points, but he's playing defense, job well done?
With Davion, I think the way that I would respond to that is if I don't notice Davion on the offensive end, then I'm okay with what he's doing on the defensive end. I think the problem that I've had is that more times this season than not, I have noticed him on the offensive end and not for a good reason. Like over dribbling. He missed a lot of shots early. He's starting to pick it up now. But like I would like to see him be like a really good off-ball option for Malik Monk as sort of that leader of the second unit. But in Davion's defense, I get what they're trying to do, but this whole thing where they pull Fox at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, and then they put Davion in, and then they put Fox in the final 3 minutes of the first quarter, and they sit Sabonis, and they also sit Davion again, and then Davion starts the second quarter. Like, it's really hard to get a rhythm in a game when you're playing like 3-minute bursts. Like, if he's playing 14 minutes, he's gone in and out of the game like 5 or 6 times most nights. And that's not really conducive to sort of settling in and finding your role and finding your niche and all that stuff. So, yeah.
What do you think they're trying to accomplish by doing that? The quick, relatively quick ins and outs.
They're not concerned about Davion. They're concerned about getting either Sabonis or Fox on the court at all times. Davion is sort of the unfortunate outcome of what their intention is. And it is what it is. I mean, he's got to deal with it because, he's Davion Mitchell on, he's the 8th or 9th guy on this team and not like the 1st or 2nd guy. And so you're trying to manage those first 2 guys.
What do you think about, well, I know what you think about it. That's a bad way to start the question, right? What do you think about?
James, talk about.
That's the one. Talk about. Harrison Barnes in January. Man is balling.
That's actually a fair place to say. James, just talk about Harrison Barnes in January. That's ridiculous.
He's balling right now. We talked about it yesterday, and I don't expect him to put up. I think he's averaging like 22 a night, shooting 50%. I'm not expecting that for the rest of the season. I do think that Harrison Barnes in this situation, the way this team plays on the offensive end, I do think he could be a guy that puts up 17, 18 points a night for the rest of the season. Do you see that in him, or is it just like he's going to do this and then starting February he's going to average 11 and it'll always balance out?
Well, I mean, if the Kings are scoring 140 a night, then there's enough for everyone. I mean, that's basically 7 20-point scorers in a game, which I feel like this team is going to have a game this season where 5 guys score 20. I think we've already seen the 4 guys score 20, but 5 guys score 20. That's just kind of the way this roster is built. What I like is that Harrison is taking more shots, at least right now. He's up to, I think over the last, I think it's 8 games, he's averaging right around 7 3-point attempts per game. Over his last 4 games, just this week, where he was, nominee for Western Conference Player of the Week. I mean, he shot like, 66.7% from the field and 64.3% from 3. Like, that's just crazy. We can't expect that. But I'll also tell you, like, he didn't rebound the ball well. He had multiple, like, 1-2 game rebounds. But the Kings didn't play defense all week, so there wasn't a lot of rebounds to get, and Sabonis got his. And, I just think that, like, he is who he is. We can't expect him to be something different. And so you're right. He'll have another stretch where he averages 11 a game, and it'll balance all of this out. And you just hope that he has more stretches where he's putting up 20, because when Harrison Barnes puts up 20, the Kings are almost unbeatable this season. And you hope that he finds sort of that rhythm, but also this team likes to ride the hot hand. And if it's Monk having a big game, he's going to get the ball more. If it's Herter, whatever. I was just shocked. Like, Harrison Barnes is averaging over 15 points a game right now on 9 shots. It's just how efficient he is crazy. And it's not just like it's over a 40 game stretch. He's averaging that on 9 shots. And that's impressive.
You mentioned the 4 20-point scores. I was like, oh, why do I feel like they lost that game? It's because they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. They had 4 20-point scores and no one else in double figures.
Yeah, both teams had 4 starters with 20 and 1 starter with 8 points.
Yeah,
both teams.
That's right.
Yeah. So Keegan, I think, had 8 points in that game.
Yep.
Yeah.
22 for Harrison, 25 for De'Aaron, 24 for Kevin Herter, and Domas had 20 and 14.
That was the one at Golden One, right?
This was at Golden One, yeah. James, this is a serious question, so we need a serious answer.
Mm-hmm.
Will the double-double streak end this year?
I think it'll end this year, but I don't know if it's going to end. I mean, we don't count it ending if he misses.
It's at 20, so pick a number. Where do you think the double-double streak ends?
Man.
33 is the most recent number people talk about. That's Dwight.
And I changed my pick to 35.
So you're going 35.
I said 33 yesterday. I'm saying 35.
The non-goofy era record is Kevin Love at 53, and then he'll have to chase Wilt Chamberlain's numbers one at a time after that.
Yeah.
But 53 is the Kevin Love number. And I think if he went the rest of the season,
was it like 59 or 60?
I think it was 60.
Yeah, 60.
Yeah, I'm going to guess, like, there's a good chance he gets up to around 40. Like, it's every single night. And I think this season it's crazy. He's got 4 triple doubles. He also has 8 additional games where he finished with 8 or more assists and a double double. So he missed a triple double by 2 assists or less. And he also has one game where he finished with 9 rebounds and a double double. So he could have had another triple double. Like, he's elite. He's one of those players that, like, comes out each and every night and gives you all of these crazy stats. And then I was looking at screen assists. I wrote about that for Sunday, and, like, screen assists are this weird category that isn't talked about that much, but it's just like a regular assist, except for it's a screen that you set that leads directly to one of your teammates scoring a basket. And he leads in overall screen assists, but he's second in his screen assists per game by like 0.1 behind Steven Adams. And he's at like 5.3 screen assists, which equals like 13 points per game for his teammates. Like, what he's doing to, like, clear out space, basically between assists, screen assists, and his points, he's averaging like basically 50. He contributes to 50 of the points in each game. And it's so incredibly hard to imagine replacing him, because there's just no one else who does some sort of the thing that he does outside of Jokic, right? And even, like, a really poor man's version of it is Mason Plumlee, which I bring up all the time. But even we watch Alperen's Şengün, like, the Rockets aren't going to trade Şengün, but it's sort of what he does a little bit. He's like a really basic version of Sabonis, a very young, basic version of Sabonis. He's incredible. He's just the center of the Kings universe, and it's hard to replace a guy like that.
So, is the beam being lit tonight? I say yes.
I say yes. You reminded me of a Vivek Ranadive right there. I say yes. This is
characteristics.
Yeah, we talked about this 9-game stretch, right? And they're 7 games into the 9-game stretch. They're 5-2. They need a win tonight. They need to beat a team, and I think it should be repeated. This is an opportunity to put away the Lakers in your season. So this is the fourth game. You got a 2-1 advantage. You beat them, and you win the season series. So you have all tiebreakers over them. And while the Lakers are bad right now, that does not mean the Lakers will be bad by game 82. And somehow they could find a way to rally, and the Kings could find a way to drop a couple of games. And next thing you know, you're in a tight battle. You want to have as many tiebreakers as possible, and this is an opportunity to put your thumb on them and push them deeper into despair, but also pick up that big season series against the Lakers.
Yeah, that's a great point. We probably didn't spend a ton of time talking about today is the value of that tiebreaker. If the Lakers make that move, people think they're going to make, and eventually I do believe they're going to do something when Anthony Davis returns. It's just how far back will they be, and what will that wind up being? Anthony Davis was here. It's not like this team was 10 games above 500 when he was around. They were struggling when he was around, and that's where I hit pause with a lot of these conversations about these other teams like Phoenix. Even to a certain degree, Golden State. It's like, what's preventing Golden State from being great right now? Like, I believe in the roster. I just don't know what I see when I see them play sometimes. I watched almost all of that game against Washington the other day. That's like, hey, that's solid club, particularly there in the fourth quarter. That fourth quarter stood out. But it's just what makes me believe they're going to be able to do that more times over the course of the next 41 than they did over the course of the first 41. James, we appreciate you so much. We're done for today. Hit the thumbs up before you go. Check out the Kings Beat, new podcast dropping. You can check out their YouTube channel as well, where apparently Sean is all in. That has not happened all year. I don't know if that's ever happening. As a matter of fact, as soon as this show ends, I'm pulling up the podcast to hear it for myself.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you here tomorrow at noon on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320.
Go King.